Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of First Look, Final Word, podcast where we take you along to see a movie. My name's Pete.
And I'm Trevor. What's going on, you octogenarians?
I was wondering what you're going to go for with this one, but no, I like that.
And this week, of course, we are seeing Megalopolis.
Yes.
The giant movie by Francis Ford Coppola.
I like the choice of word there. Not sure how you would describe this one.
I'm just going to read a quick synopsis, then we'll be on our way. The tagline is, "If you can't see a better future, build one." Genius artist Caesar Catalina seeks to leap the city of New Rome into a utopian, idealistic future, while his opposition, Mayor Franklin Cicero, remains committed to a regressive status quo, perpetuating greed, special interests, and partisan warfare. That's a run-on sentence. Torn between them is socialite Julia Cicero, the mayor's daughter, whose love for Caesar has divided her loyalties, forcing her to discover what she truly believes humanity deserves.
I feel like he's not really pushed the boat out with the naming on this movie. It's like Caesar and New Rome and Cicero. It's like,
well, I did see the name of Aubrey Plaza's character's name.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Wow Platinum.
A what now?
Wow Platinum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I don't know if it's an Owen Wilson wow.
Fair enough.
But that apparently is her name. So,
all right then. Well, I guess he is pushing the boat out then in some respects. I remember a Wow Platinum from the history books.
From Roman history now.
Our Roman history is a bit rusty, but I would have remembered that one.
So, okay. This is a big movie we're seeing. $120 million budget.
Yeah, he paid for it himself, didn't he?
Yeah, he sold off a huge stake in his winery to
is that what he's right?
This movie. Yeah.
Oh boy, wow, why not? Right? I mean, geez, there's no point of hoarding the money, I suppose.
So he has been thinking about making this movie since the late 70s when he was working on Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That's literally how long he's been doing it.
I heard Laurence Fishburne saying that like he was talking to him about it while he was doing that movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was thinking though, like I feel like we don't usually explain much about what we're actually doing on this podcast.
Should we give a little elevator pitch for the new listeners?
We're actually. I feel like we never even mention sometimes that we're actually driving to a movie. Like we mention it on the intro, right? Like we take you along to see a movie, but I feel like maybe we need to describe that a bit better.
Sure. You know what? Pete and I, we just got in a car. We're driving to see a new movie. We're going to get out, we're going to watch the new movie, and then drive back home, and on the way back, we're going to give you our immediate reactions, right?
There you go. That's the crux of the podcast, the elevator pitch for the podcast, folks, in case you're a new listener.
It's like going to see a new movie with a couple friends, right?
Exactly, because we are your friends.
That's exactly, each and every one of you.
Yeah, like loving friends.
Not like help you move, drive to the airport type of friends, but like a Facebook friend.
Like we'll tell you our opinion of Francis Ford Coppola's movies.
Yeah,
that kind of friend.
That's basically like the level of friendship I'm willing to go for anybody now.
Yeah, unless someone wants to come with us, be open for that. We've got room in the back here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that before we get into it.
Sure. Well, you know what? You never know. Every podcast is someone's first podcast.
There you go. Right? Yeah, I know. I think we've said that before, but what's wrong? It's true. It's very true. Some people might be listening to this and be going, what are they doing?
Well, just huge Francis Ford Coppola fans are going to come up for this one.
Oh, man, they're going to come out the woods.
So,
all the young bucks.
Do you want to quickly talk about like our history opinions of Coppola?
Sure. Yeah. I guess so. I mean, I don't have a huge history. I mean, like, it's hard though, because like, when's the last time I made a movie? Like 10 years ago or something?
Yeah,
I don't think I know. I obviously know Francis Ford Coppola from like Godfather and Apocalypse Now, but like other than that, I didn't really follow his work after that. I feel like there wasn't really. Can't think of anything that he really made after that I've been a huge fan of.
Well, yeah, like and you're right. He hasn't made a movie in about 10 years, and I haven't seen any of his movies from the 2000s.
Yeah,
on.
There's nothing that came out that was like, this is a must-see. Coppola is back.
Like he has like probably the best 4-movie run, or like arguably the best 4-movie run of any director ever, which is The Godfather, The Conversation, Godfather Part 2, and Apocalypse Now.
Right.
It's like arguably four masterpieces. Bing, bang, bing, bing.
Yeah, and
right in a
I
row.
haven't seen The Conversation.
It's really good.
Yeah,
It was.
I'll take. So I hear.
Yeah, and then right after Apocalypse Now, he does One from the Heart, which is
I haven't seen that either.
super expensive, sort of like semi-musical.
Did he self-finance that one too?
I think that was studio finance, but that was kind of like happened like right in the beginning of the early 80s, right when all these like big directors from the 70s started having like these huge flops because they kind of just got a little out of control. It's like
the 80s was a fun time.
Spielberg had 1941.
Right.
Marty had New York, New York, and and Coppola had he had Apocalypse Now, which was a success, and then he had One from the Heart, which was not a success. Though, like it's been reappraised critically in recent years. I just saw it about a year ago. I didn't really like it, but I can see that there's a lot of artistry involved there.
I feel like that might be what we're talking about on the way home.
And then
sense the theme.
The 80s was kind of like an up and down period for him. Like I've not seen a lot of it. I know like Outsiders is a movie a lot of people like. I don't really like that one very much.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it. I don't think I've seen anything that he's done.
Well, you probably saw his Dracula from the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm also like not the biggest fan of, even though like it looks really great.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Like Gary Oldman looks so classic.
Yeah, like I don't even remember a lot of the specifics of that movie. I just remember, like you say, that the things that really worked in it.
And I think the only Coppola movie I've ever seen in theaters is Jack from the 90s. Oh
God, the Robin Williams movie?
Yeah. So like a lot of people don't realize that Francis Ford Coppola directed Jack.
I didn't realize that, I gotta be honest.
Because like in the 90s, he had kind of just become a director for hire because he couldn't really get his own projects made.
Gotta pay the bills, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He did Jack.
Yeah. Wow. Not a critically appreciated movie. No, though I liked it as a kid.
Yeah, I liked it as well. And if you'd given me like 20 guesses to guess who directed it, I never would have said Francis Ford Coppola. That's crazy.
Maybe Sofia Coppola, maybe.
Right? Yeah, interesting.
So like we have seen a few movies now for this podcast that are done by old men in their 80s.
Yeah, there's been a few, haven't they?
And this is sort of one where like I'm not a super fan of the guy going in, though. Like I really appreciate his early work, and I appreciate that he is strives to innovate as an artist.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation. I'm sure we're going to get into it about like, is there a certain point where you should just be like, maybe just stop now? Like, I don't want to say you're too old, because I don't think that's really accurate or fair, but I don't know. Like, I guess we can get into it. Has there been any good movies made by directors who like eat their food for a straw?
Well, that's the Quentin Tarantino argument, right? Like he's long famously said, "I'm going to do 10 movies and then retire because I don't want to be an old man making movies because every old man's last movie stinks."
True. But what if your 10th movie stinks? Then what? then you make an 11th.
Well, so that's the thing with
maybe that's what he's been doing, right? It's what he's been doing since Dracula.
Well, yeah, Tarantino. For his 10th movie, he was going to do it as the critic, right? And that was going on for a long while.
Plus, doesn't he count the Kill Bill as one movie?
Counts Kill Bill as one movie, and then he doesn't count.
Doesn't count. What was his? I think he doesn't. Death Proof, or was it?
I don't think he does. I don't think he counts Death Proof as a movie.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got caveats coming out of
But he basically like scrapped the critic, because he's like, well, this is going to be my last movie. It has to be perfect,
which is so dumb. I don't want to get off topic too much here, but go on a bit of tangent, but. The stupidest reason to do anything. It's like, it's not going to be my last movie. It's like, well, maybe just fucking make it and then make another one. You don't have to scrap the whole thing.
Yeah. And like, what is he going to do with this himself? Right.
Right.
But no, like I think on this podcast, we already have a couple examples of guys from their 80s that I would say are still putting up some pretty
Yeah.
quality work. Like our very first
I was
episode.
gonna say our very first episode, Killers of the Flower Moon, right?
Yeah, I think
Decent, very good movie.
Marty-
Oscar nominated movie.
I know. I described it as a masterpiece. You said a very good movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say masterpiece,
but I don't think you could watch that movie and say like, "Oh, this guy has lost it."
This guy's too old to make movies.
Yeah.
No,
maybe he's too old to edit movies down to a length that people want to watch it in. But
that was very fair.
You know, the guy still has the juice.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Oh my!
So what they say about Scorsese on set now is he takes a really long time to figure out his shot setups now.
You're gonna say he takes a lot of naps.
It takes a lot of, well, you know,
it's a really long time because he naps for half of the day.
Maybe he does. But no, he takes a really long time figuring out shots when that was kind of something that came easy to him now. But he, like, you know, the guy's in his 80s, he has to take it slow.
Yeah.
And another octogenarian we covered, Hayao Miyazaki in
I didn't even put that one together. That's very true.
The Boy and the Heron.
Yes.
I think like one of his best movies in decades. Like I would say probably his best since Spirited Away.
Yeah, I agree. I really love that movie actually.
And that's another one where the stories.
How old is he now?
He's about 83 now.
Really?
And
Wow.
that movie took about like 10 years to make.
Right.
Well, and like COVID, there was a break and stuff like that.
True.
The story behind production for that one is that he had to give over a lot of control.
Right.
Like empower a lot of animators to kind of just carry out his vision. Whereas before he storyboarded everything, then he was deeply involved in every single part of the production.
Which is an interesting point because like when you're making movies and you're that old, like how much of it, like it's not the same as like when you're a young guy, right? Like you say, running around controlling everything. Like I can't imagine like a Clint Eastwood is really getting his fingers involved, like in all the pies. I'm sure he's got a lot of like ADs and second unit, just like basically just saying, "Is this good with you, Clint?" He's like, "Yeah, sure."
Well, the thing about Eastwood, and I think Eastwood is in his early 90s,
right? He's like 93 or something. It's insane.
So at least, and I guess we're kind of hinting already, but we were going to talk about people in their 80s and over making movies.
Yeah.
And
making good movies.
Making good movies, and maybe we can talk about some stickers.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's the thing about Clint Eastwood is he was always known for like doing one take.
Right.
And that was his reputation when he was making movies in the 70s.
Right.
And so that hasn't really changed as he's in his 90s. But Sully and Richard Jewell, which are his two most recent ones, he's definitely made those since he's been 80.
He's been over 80. Yeah, for
sure. I don't think they've been his best movies, but they're still like pretty good quality movies. And I think it's because when you have that kind of reputation, you're getting good people to work for you, right? And like at that point, all you have to do is like say, "This is what I want to do."
True.
Then you hire the right people. Then
you have the right team around you, I guess, right? That's another conversation. Anyone made movies in their 90s because he's got a new movie coming out, hasn't he?
Clint?
Yeah. Maybe I got that wrong.
Let me see. I don't know. Yeah, you might be right.
Let me do some quick Googling here while you vamp.
Well, I was just going to go back to Miyazaki and say that, Boy and the Heron is definitely like a swan song type movie. Right. That's an interesting thing as I was researching this question was, how many of these old man movies are just secretly about, I'm going to die soon.
Mortality tales.
Yeah, because like the Boy and the Heron is basically about like an old man who's like who needs to pass something on because
spent his whole life controlling something and can't do it anymore. Yeah, I guess that's very true.
So another one of my examples, you mentioned like someone going and taking naps or whatever.
Before you get into that, Clint Eastwood's next movie, Juror Number 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's coming out soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's playing festivals now or this year, some point next month maybe.
All right. And then his next one's probably Juror Number 3.
Yep. So I didn't see Juror Number 1 though, so I'm not caught up. to catch up before we go see
They'll
that.
probably do a recap at the beginning.
That's fair enough. Yeah, last time on Jorah. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, legendary director John Huston, whose career spanned from
Right.
the 1930s to the 1980s.
There you go. I knew you'd pull out the big guns.
His last movie was The Dead from 1987. He was literally on an oxygen tank. He could only work for about 20 minutes at a time. He had to go back to an oxygen tank. He puts together this, incredibly quiet and reflective movie about, family and death.
Lack of oxygen.
Lacks of oxygen. But I don't know. There's something there's some kind of magic to that movie.
Well, I mean, it's a very unique perspective that, a lot of people have it, but not a lot of people making movies have it, where you've had a lot of life behind you, and the end of the road is fast approaching, and you can see it. So not many people are cognizant enough to make it that far and still be able to put a coherent story together, and let alone film it and release it. But yeah, sometimes I think how much? I feel like I'm trying to take things away from people, but how much of it was yeah, all right, John, yeah, you do. This is okay, right? We'll just put your name on it, and you just give us a thumbs up there. It's no, he's had nothing to do with it. He's almost dead.
Well, it's it's a fair enough question, right? But it's kind of
being a pessimist, maybe.
I don't want to bring everything back to the U.S. presidential election because I'm sure people
are turning off immediately now. People who are like, people who were saying this, sometimes it's people's first episode, get into politics, turn it off.
But if you look at someone like Joe Biden, who I think everyone agrees is too old to be doing the job of president.
Yeah, so I don't think that's going to cause much.
No controversy there. Okay,
yeah, there you go. That's the word.
So he by necessity has to have people that competent people that he trusts working with him.
Yep.
So that he can just communicate a vision and people can execute that vision.
Right.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Everybody.
Nicely done. Very politically done, Trevor. I like it.
Yeah. Any examples before I
let me see what more. I mean, we got some. Who are we missing? Well, we didn't talk about Ridders.
Well,
Sir Ridley, which is another man we talked about.
So we did an episode on Ridley Scott's Napoleon, which came out late last year. I was going to put this on the column of, maybe this guy just doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, it was. Although I hear he's isn't he releasing a 4-hour cut or something of it on Apple TV?
It did release on Apple.
Oh, did it already release?
I know on that episode I said I was interested in watching the 4-hour cut, but I still haven't watched it yet.
I don't think I could sit through a 4-hour Napoleon cut.
So that's one where, there's obviously some visually stunning things still going on in that movie. So he clearly has an eye. But when I watched that movie, I thought, this guy has completely lost all of his instincts as a storyteller, because I don't think that movie works.
No, it was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? Really, yeah, story-wise.
I know people say there's a 4-hour cut that probably makes a lot of more sense, but it was Scott's decision to cut it down to 2.5 hours because he didn't think audiences could.
Always I never really like that argument. It's when people talk about the Snyder cut and stuff like that. It's if you need 4 hours to tell your story, then you're probably not telling it very well. Unless you're doing a TV miniseries or something, it's that's not a movie then at that point. It's too
well, I would say I would generally agree, but I do think there's sort of some historical epic movies or whatever that kind of earn that runtime.
I mean, I guess, but I still think some of those could probably be cut down a bit.
I don't think that Rebel Moon in 2 parts needs to be 8 hours. I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah, that's probably not the best example to try and prove the point. But I hear you saying, yeah. But I agree with you on Napoleon and stuff. But I tell you what, I'm still pretty excited for Gladiator 2.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So I saw the trailer.
I'm still holding out hope that that's going to be amazing.
I think the CGI looks a little bad. The CGI animals.
Yeah.
When the CGI for the animals was pretty good in the first one.
Didn't they use real tigers in the first one? It was like green screened him or something.
I think it's, you know what? Maybe it's a real tiger, but just green screened into there.
He was probably a bit of both. To be honest with you, depending on the shot.
And that being said, like I just shit over Napoleon, but Ridley Scott's The Last Duel, which came out during COVID and still hardly.
It's like your favorite movie ever, isn't it?
Anyway, it's not my favorite movie ever. It's an incredibly well done movie, and it has like a complete control over the story that it's telling.
Right.
Napoleon
was just a bit of a blip. That's all.
Yeah, and like the guy's like 86, so like the fact that he's doing this at all, like we should really put a huge caveat over this whole conversation, because like the fact that all these people are like,
he only made a quite good movie.
Yeah, like all these people are such dedicated artists that they're making movies well after the point where most of us would just be, sitting on a beach enjoying our retirement. So,
or just like
good for them.
Dribbling into our pudding cups or something. It's like, that's what I mean. Like,
well, you have your retirement plans and I have my retirement plans.
We all got dreams. Don't yuck my yup, Trevor.
So see The Last Duel. It's really good. Made by an old man.
Well, I'll add it to the ever-growing list of
but
stuff.
A very modern perspective. Another one that came out, I can't remember if this came out last year or the year before. Like a lot of the movies that I had kind of found, and this is actually a pretty hard topic to Google.
Yeah. You put 80s,
it's just like movies from the 80s.
Stupid Google.
So it's a movie called EO. I think it came out 2 years ago now.
I think I know that one. I didn't see it, but I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, it's a movie shown from the perspective of a donkey.
Right. Yes.
It's made by, I'm never going to get his name right. It's Polish director, Jerzy Skolomowski. Nice. I think is how you say his name.
Sure.
I'm sure I said that wrong.
Apologies to Poland.
I'm very sorry, Poland. Anyways, like, he was a well-renowned director, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
The past, 30 years, he's directed 2 movies. This is his first one in, 15 years.
Wow,
and it is, it is incredible. It looks wonderful, and it's, the saddest, most depressing movie you'll see in a very long time.
I feel like we've talked about this one on a previous episode. Just come flooding back to me.
Let me think. Yeah. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
So I think this one's exclusive to Criterion Channel. If you have that, definitely check it out. It's really sad. I watched it. I watched it with my wife, and it bummed us the hell out. But in a worthwhile way. I don't want to scare anybody off from watching it.
In a good way. It's one of those movies that is amazing, but I'm not watching it again.
Yeah.
I don't need to be that sad. What about just some old guys that I don't really remember them making a big movie anytime soon, like your Woody Allen? He must have made movies in his 80s.
Yeah, I think he's in his late 80s now.
Yeah. What's the last movie he made that you remember?
So the last movie of his that I watched, I think, was Midnight in Paris.
Right.
And then after that, the allegations of him against him kind of made it hard to watch a movie from him.
Same.
But I think he's still rattling them off every now and then.
Yeah, I'm looking. I had a look here, and I guess he's made some made a movie in Paris, just all fully French cast.
Okay.
Not too long ago. But no, I can't imagine that got very wide release. But similar with Polanski as well. He's kind of another one that's a bit well, I don't know if I want to really watch what he's up to, but he's still doing movies.
Yeah, is he still making movies? I guess I'm not aware of it.
He's got a new one coming out called The Palace. It's got Mickey Rourke, John Cleese. Weird.
Mickey Rourke and John Cleese and Roman Polanski. That's sounds like a pretty cursed.
Everything you thought you didn't want,
there.
Now you do.
Okay, there we go. Yeah,
and he's 90 now. Over 90, I think.
I'm trying to think the last Polanski movie I watched.
Yeah,
it might be The Pianist. I don't know if I've seen a more recent one.
There was one that he did where it was all in one location, like a house. He was in that. I can't remember what it's called, but that was the last one I saw of his. That was
probably
10, 15 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that one.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But I thought it was like, it was fine, but I was like, I don't know. I don't want to support this guy, to be fair, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really have a.
Let me think. I sent you a
Oh,
couple
did you send me a list? For
lists.
Brian De Palma,
Yeah, Brian,
he's over 80.
and
I don't know if he's still making movies.
like that's the thing. Like, you know, a lot of these guys are directors that I like their earlier work, but I haven't really been catching
That's the
up.
thing, right?
Oh, so what one I do remember that I watched last year was the Kane Mutiny Marshal,
Oh, okay.
the Kane Mutiny Court Martial,
Okay.
by William Friedkin.
Okay.
You know, like,
No, I've not seen that one.
famed director of The Exorcist, French Connection. He was, I think, 87 when he made that last year, or it came out last year, and then I believe he died before the movie
Oh,
actually
really?
came out. And it's actually a very kind of quiet, contained, like, law movie. Like, and
Okay.
it's like it's a trial movie. And it's really good. Like, it is very compelling. Like, got some really good performances out of everybody, especially Kiefer Sutherland in
Oh,
that one.
really?
I thought probably gave the best performance of his that I've ever seen.
Nice.
Um, and the story of that production was that there had to have, and I can't remember, there was another famous director who the insurance company would not insure this movie.
They thought you might die before he got released.
Well, exactly. So they, and I'll have to look this up later. But there's like a fairly like famous director who agreed to just be the assistant director in case Friedkin died during production because he was because he was so old,
that's
right,
crazy.
and not in good health at all.
Not the worst plan though.
Yeah.
Got your backup right, understudy right there, ready to go.
So there's nothing about that movie that's like, you know, swan songy or whatever, but still good to end a career with a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
And still hitting them off in your 80s is
yeah,
pretty
like
impressive.
making a movie just before you die and having it being a good movie is,
It's metal.
yeah, and I'm going to assume pretty rare. I don't know if you come up with another one of that, another example of that. Okay, what else is on Trevor's list here? I can't even pronounce some of this stuff. What's this Wiseman movie?
Oh yeah,
Monrovia, Indiana.
Yeah, so Frederick Wiseman is a long-time documentarian.
Right.
He's been making documentaries, I think, at least since the early 60s, might even be before that. His whole stick is like he looks at different institutions throughout the United States, and there's no like voiceover or
Oh yeah.
talking heads or anything. It's all fly on the wall stuff.
Oh, interesting.
And I think he's in his early 90s now. And he's still making like one a year basically. 2020 he had a movie called City Hall.
Okay.
Took place in Boston. He just like sat around in Boston City Hall for a year. And like,
how does he get a narrative out of that though?
Through editing. Like, honestly, like,
that's gotta be tricky.
It's honestly like, and the movie that I had selected here, Monrovia, Indiana,
like no kind of narration or anything. That's
trick.
That's got to be difficult to do.
There's no narration, but honestly, like it's the most compelling stuff ever. Like that Monrovia, Indiana. It just like it somehow shows you the life of an entire like small town,
right?
In 90 minutes, just kind of skipping from place to place to place to place to place to place.
Wow.
Ends with a funeral. It's incredible.
Nice.
Lots of movies from Wiseman people should check out, but that's a recent one from when he was in his 80s. That's, I think, amongst his best.
Cool. All right, what else we got here? Endless Poetry.
Oh yeah, so the Alejandro Jodorowsky movie. So that's the Chilean surrealist.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if you remember this. We were talking about him in our Dune episode.
Oh, we were?
Because he's the one who, in the early 70s, was trying to finance a Dune movie.
Oh, that's also familiar, yes.
And like he partnered up with H.R.
right
Giger and to design all the stuff for the Harkonnens and stuff that they just repurposed for Alien.
Gotcha.
And then he has all these famous surrealist movies from the 60s and 70s. Holy Mountain's the most famous of them. And he's had two movies in the last 10 years that, I guess 12 years now, that are actually really good. Like he kind of came back from filmmaking for a long time. And his movies still work, I think, because he was always batshit crazy. Yeah,
it never go out of style, does it?
So his movies are just completely visually striking,
right.
But totally nonsensical. So it almost works as an advantage to someone when you're in your 80s and
just the ramblings of an old man.
He might even be in his 90s now. Wow. I think he is in his early 90s actually. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really matter. As long, because his stuff never made sense in the first place. So so it completely translates into being an old man.
Right.
Just like how we were saying on our Beetlejuice episode that, Michael Keaton works better as an old man Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it really did, right? He fit that character a lot, made more sense, really.
So sometimes you can age into doing something.
Yeah, right. Sometimes an older voice is just perfect for the story, right?
Yeah. And, while sprinkling in some good examples of people from their 80s making good movies, should mention our most recent episode was The Shrouds from David Cronenberg.
How old? Yeah, because he's
81. So
he must have made the cut.
He just made the cut. He said in releasing the film, I'm the same age as Joe Biden.
Yes, he did. I remember when he picked up that award.
And so that is, and still listen to the episode, but that is a prime example of someone making a movie when they are too old.
Yeah,
to make a movie well.
Give it. Yeah. Spoiler for that review, but yeah, we didn't really love that one, unfortunately. Although it was cool to go into TIFF and see him there and see him answer questions and with the cast.
Yeah, and he he still seems sharp enough,
yeah,
right? But
even admitted to it, it's just it didn't seem like he really had the drive to do it anymore. He's just I kind of want to make this movie, but
he described himself as lazy a couple times during that interview, which was interesting.
Which doesn't work as well if the movie seems lazy. You gotta worry about it. You're I'm lazy, but it's an amazing movie. But no, it doesn't work so well otherwise. Yeah, no, one on your list here that I was going to bring up actually as well is Kurosawa.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen the stuff he did later.
And yeah, the name of this movie always escapes me. When he's officially over 80, because he did Ran, I think, when he was 70.
So this one you wrote down here, and then Matadeo.
Matadeo, yeah. So he did Dreams and Matadeo, I think, when he was over the 80-year limit. And both pretty good movies. And even by the time he did Ran when he was 75, the word wasn't that he was nearly blind.
Okay. It's just bad to make a movie when you're blind. I guess you could do it somehow. I don't know. Sounded good. Let's move on.
Yeah. It sounded perfect.
No, was it in focus? Who cares?
But I think that that's another example of you're such a refined craftsman, and you work with good people, right? So you can kind of trust that you got
check that it's in focus because someone else will do it.
The lens cap is on.
I've just realized that I don't know if this says more about us or more just about the state of Hollywood. No, we haven't talked about any women yet.
Well,
is there? Can we name at least one woman over 80 that's made a movie?
So I know that Leni Riefenstahl, who's the famous Nazi propagandist director, she apparently directed a movie when she was 100.
I guess that counts, right?
Yeah, well, she did Triumph of the Will and
all the greats,
the 40s or whatever. But apparently she made a movie when she was 100. I can't remember what the name of it is. Yeah.
Well, good. There you go.
Well, so
doing the sisters.
But the thing is,
get a better example. I feel like that's not really working.
I don't know. I don't know if there's another example because the thing is not that many female directors working from the 70s onwards,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So there's Elaine May, who's still alive and in her 80s, but she hasn't made a movie since the 80s.
Right.
So unless she's getting off the couch or whatever, then we have to wait for, crop of like women in their 60s to age up into it, basically, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, you have to live to the
goddamn patriarchy.
There's only so many women who have like gone on to be successful directors just from the opportunities they were given.
Exactly.
And then you also have to live into your 80s, and then you also have to convince people to let you make a movie in your 80s.
Yeah, it's a very, very small pool you got to work with there.
Yeah,
sadly. Well, so in 50 years' time, that'll be totally different.
Well, there's a
hopefully
there's a great crop of female directors in their 40s and 50s and 60s now. They just got to hold on.
It's the same with like black, but like anyone with any kind of ethnicity on this list.
Well, exactly.
It's all white dudes.
Yeah, so like
closest we got was Polish, I think.
Yeah. Well, I have and Japanese.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
I had two
Japanese.
Japanese.
We did get the Japanese.
And then, I have another French director, Robert Bresson, directed L'Argent, which is his last film. I think when he was just over 80, maybe he was 81.
Right.
Stopped making movies after that, but really great movie.
Oh yeah. Not seen that one either.
And he's a favorite of mine.
Is he?
Yeah, I lent you that Blu-ray a while ago.
Oh God, I still got it actually.
Did you watch that one?
No, I haven't seen.
You should check it out.
Yeah, I put it strategically near my PlayStation, so because that's the only thing that I've got that'll play it.
That's not the movie we're talking about. Is A Man Escaped by Bresson.
Yes,
it's one of my favorites.
It's been on my thing. I'm like, I should just give that back to Trevor, or I should just watch it. Like, just do it.
Should just do it. It's a quiet movie.
There you go.
But it's a POW movie.
I know. I'm like, stuff like that. I have to be in the right mood, and the only time I'm in the mood to watch a movie, it's like late at night, and I'm tired, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to get into a heavy POW movie.
Yeah. No, that's totally understandable.
But I will watch it.
All right. You know what? I'm not going to watch it anytime soon. So keep that Blu-ray as long as you need to.
Keep it safe.
Did I have anything else on my list?
What are we missing? For the Neville Doge Dead, the man.
Yeah. So I think that was like his first good one in quite a while, but then that was his last movie. I think he was just over the 80 marker.
We can put him on our list of last movies that were good.
Yeah. And great performances by Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I think that's everything we've got on our lists here.
So we're about to go see Francis Ford Coppola's mega movie, Megalopolis.
Megalopolis, right?
Megalopolis.
That's an interesting name. It's hard to say.
So, if you're new to the podcast, how this works, Pete and I, we just arrived at the movie theater. We're going to go in, watch the movie, not talk to each other at all. And then we're going to
stand inside. Well, we can talk about other stuff.
The weather,
how dark it is.
We're going to come back here, give you all a spoiler-free immediate reaction to Megalopolis.
Unfiltered reactions.
Yep. Then give you plenty of warning before we go into spoiler talk. I imagine there's probably a lot of people going to be listening who aren't really planning on seeing the movie but are interested in
people's opinion. Yeah. So we'll give you a yay or nay whether you should give it a go.
Yeah.
So we won't spoil anything, so you don't have to worry about that.
I'm going to have a prediction here.
Okay.
I'm going to say you're going to hate it.
Really?
And I'm going to think it was okay.
Yeah, all right. I've got an inkling that I might like it, actually.
From the stuff that I've seen, I think I'm going to enjoy like some of the technical choices that he makes in this.
Okay. Yeah, it depends. I've got a feeling it's going to be very messy, and
it's definitely going to be messy.
Usually loses me pretty quick if it gets like that. So we'll see. Maybe it'll just, like you say, stylistically, it'll be enough to keep me invested. But
okay,
I know I'm like quietly hopeful that I'll actually like this one.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, so stay tuned, guys, for the next 10 seconds, and you'll find out. How long is this? It's not crazy long, is it?
I think it's like 2 hours. 2 hours.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, wish us luck.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll find out shortly if we like it or not. All right, guys, we're back. That was just a quick second for you guys. For us, it's already Friday.
Absolutely nothing to talk about. Right? Like,
No,
yeah.
nothing
Nothing.
to talk about with that movie. It's all just a run of the mill
Yeah, like,
popcorn flick.
yeah. Just take your family.
So I guess we could get straight into it for all these people who are dying to know. Did you like this movie, Trevor? Megalopolis?
I did not like this movie.
No, Trevor didn't like it.
Uh,
Surprised?
so what do you think, Pete? Did you like it?
No, I did not like it. um, it was definitely something that I don't think I'll ever see again or have seen before. But not really in a good way.
Yeah, like it was certainly original.
Yeah, yeah, but also, um, I didn't understand a lick of it really. Well, bits and pieces I understood, but it honestly felt like the sort of mad ravings of an old man. It's just like random thoughts that he had, just put them down and just weird stuff.
Well, we were talking on the way here about how he was working on this idea since the late 70s, and notice that he did bring Laurence Fishburne onto this project too, that he was talking
Yep.
to back on Apocalypse Now. I wonder, like, if a script from the 70s survived back when he could write a really good script.
Yeah, I think
This can't be the script.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression too. I like when I was watching it, I felt like there's an idea buried in here, and there's like a script buried in here that I feel like could have made a bit more sense, and could have been a bit less just batshit insane, and could have maybe worked. But like some of it was just so out there, and then other parts were just like beating you over the head with with how unsubtle they were about things. It's just like, man, what is it? What are you trying to do here? Yeah, it was very difficult sit, really, actually. Like within the first like 10, 15 minutes, I was a bit like, oh, okay. If this is gonna be the whole 2 hours, I don't know how I'm gonna get through it.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of threads that the movie is trying to tie together.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it had a bunch of different ideas, but like none of them were coherent for me at all.
Yes, some of the threads were made of, fabric, and some were like spaghetti, and
Yeah.
some were like hawks of spit or whatever he's trying to weave together.
I mean, like sometimes it's like, oh, he's really trying to say something there, and then other times like, oh, he's just being really obvious with what he's trying to say.
Yeah, and like your point that maybe this is just a random idea that popped in his head, so then let's put that element in here.
Not just random ideas, like literally, like, oh, I like that bit of I like that passage from history. I like this bit of Shakespeare. Or let's just throw in a whole 30-second spot where he just does Shakespeare.
Yeah,
like, oh, I like this. Let's just pull random quotes out of Roman history, just throw them in.
Yeah, he was on there doing Hamlet, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the obvious Shakespeare thing to do would be to do Julius Caesar, but
yeah, it was just a lot of very odd decisions.
Yeah, so we were we were talking on the way up about how, these old men are making these kind of swan song movies.
Yeah.
Did this work as a swan song?
Well, I think the thing as well what we talked about on the way up was that they use when it goes well, it's usually because they typically have a good people around them and a good team or whatever. And like I did notice this was like written, directed, produced, everything. I think he did the catering. Like he basically had full control over this, and it was just him.
Well,
it's like that. He needed someone to rein him in.
Yeah, he sold like stakes in his winery.
Yeah.
So he paid for it.
Do what I want.
There's no big boss man watching the dailies calling him saying, what the fuck's going on?
Dude, one of the things I struggled with a bit is like he got good talent on that. Like and I mean, I guess if Francis Ford Coppola asks you to be in his movie, you just say yeah.
Yeah.
But like if I'm a Dustin Hoffman reading that script, the last thing I'm thinking is like, yeah, that's a great part. I'd love to play that part in this movie.
Well, I don't know.
He had like 2 scenes in the movie.
Yeah, that and like he was kind of killed off in a bit of like a
off screen.
mostly off screen. But yeah,
It's
like
insane.
he is still Francis Ford Coppola.
I guess so.
If you're someone like Adam Driver who seems to
Yeah.
put a premium on working with interesting directors, and you think like, well, this is my last chance to work with Coppola before he dies.
And I guess
Maybe I'll hear some good Godfather stories.
and I guess to be fair, I think it will. From what I was reading today, it was seemed like a bit of a revolving door of actors that were attached to this and then left, and then like because wasn't Forrest Whitaker like attached to this for the longest time? I'm not sure what role he was supposed to have. I'm guessing either the Fishburne role,
Yeah,
or Giancarlo Esposito. I think he was brought in late as well.
I think like every big actor from every generation for the last 40 years has been attached to this at some point or another.
Yeah.
Thing about Coppola is his productions were always kind of notorious for being chaotic.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
then I guess I read that like they fired like half of the technical staff on this movie, like fired the whole VFX department like halfway through shooting.
Well, and we should probably mention that there are like allegations that he was like sexually harassing staff on this shoot as well.
I didn't hear that.
He's suing Variety for running that story. Even
just creepy old man.
Yeah, just total creepy old man. But anyways, yeah, like Apocalypse Now was a notoriously chaotic.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Well, they made the whole documentary movie about it, right?
And the thing is now, like he's a man in his 80s, and it's still chaotic, but he doesn't have the skill set to rein all that chaos into something like artistically coherent.
Yeah, that's tricky to do, I would imagine. It's like trying to lighten in a bottle twice there.
Yeah. Well, and we really shouldn't complain too much because we really did see really did see something.
Definitely saw some. That's what I mean. Like I'm not going to say anything like that again. I wouldn't have thought.
So this is really what is great about the movies is when you're someone of like of auteur status where you're making a movie and you get to make the movie however you want.
I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Something comes into your head. You're trying to put the vision in your head on the screen.
Right.
And that is what is interesting to me about movies. Now, this is an example of a man whose vision should not have been put on the screen.
Yeah, it's like I feel like someone should check on him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's like, is he okay?
but it's fascinating. Like we saw into the deep recesses of Coppola's mind, and it was scary.
Yeah, but like I say, I think like there's bits where I'm like I can kind of see, like I see what he's trying. He's trying to say some stuff, and I can see what he's trying to say, but then something else happened. I'd be like, what's that about?
Well, this movie really needed to follow a more typical arc. I'm not.
Any kind of like plot thread would be nice.
You know me, like I'm never one to say like don't have stuff that doesn't make any sense because I think
you're into that shit.
But like the fact that Caesar in this movie had so many falls and rises, it just was a little like emotionally inert. Like how many times did the crowd rise up and say like, "Oh, we hate Caesar now," and then he's like, "Oh, but I'm gonna give I'm gonna give a little bit of an interesting speech here," and they're like, "Oh yes, we love Caesar now."
Honestly, like from any given point within that whole movie, I had no idea what anybody's motivation was, or who I was supposed to be rooting for, or what was the end game for any character. It just seemed like people were doing things at random in crazy ways.
It certainly did. And what was the substance called again? Like the
God, guys, it's like Unobtainium on it.
Yeah.
It's like Megalite or something.
Yeah, Megatron.
It's like that's the best I could come up with. Megalopolis made from Megalite. It's like, okay, sure.
So yeah, that was.
They didn't really they didn't explain any of it though. Not that they really needed to, but I mean, like Jesus, like so.
I get like he's building the future.
Yeah.
With that stuff,
right?
But like mixed in all with the Caesar stuff, I don't really quite get it.
No.
Because like Caesar, wrestled control of Rome and became a dictator, but then it didn't really play out like that.
No, that's what I mean, because there was certain parts as well where it's just like, this is like, we're just going to totally show you that this is supposed to be ancient Rome. I mean, it's called New Rome. It's not trying that hard to hide it. But then, like, literally have like a Colosseum where they're doing chariot races at one point. That's not really a spoiler.
But then they were also calling it the United States all the time.
They called it they called it the country of New Rome at one point, but then they changed it back to just like interchangeably call it the United States and have the American flag and stuff. That's what I mean. It was very odd. It's like he forgot he changed the name of the United States.
Like, I honestly think he had a script for this ready, and then he watched the events of January 6th unfold.
That's what I mean.
And then he's like, I gotta do some rewrites here. I gotta call Shia.
Yeah, let's make the bad guys have red hats. Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Really? Oh.
And it's just like if you are like a 20-year-old filmmaker right out of film school, you're probably like, yeah, I'm gonna make a movie about January 6th. It's gonna be so in people's faces.
Right.
And yeah, to see someone in their 80s do it, like, it feels like it's just such basic shit.
Yeah. Like even the title cards that he'd put up, they just were like, they were so pretentious. And the one at the end where he changed the Pledge of Allegiance to like the Pledge of Humanity.
Okay.
It's like, oh.
So I had a question about that title card. We won't say what it is to avoid spoilers, but were we supposed to be inspired by that title card?
That's what I mean. Like, this is what I've been building to the whole thing. This is why my life's philosophy is like, seriously. It's
just a bunch of like
it's like a kid in school. It's like something a kid in school would have come up with.
Yeah, or like you typed in a chat GPT, hey, write me something inspiring in the style of like a Roman verse.
Oh man, yeah, it was not good.
So one thing that really touched my heart at the end of the movie, there was a group of guys hanging out.
There wasn't many people in our screening, and that was like the only screening today, really. Well, there was one earlier on.
Well, and yeah, we should say we did not manage to see it in IMAX where there was an interactive component to it.
There is?
Yeah, so if you see it in IMAX, they have...
You can turn it off.
They have an employee stand there at a certain point.
No, you're lying.
Interact with Adam Driver on the screen.
You're lying.
No. Did you not know about this?
No.
Yes. So this is a real thing.
Like in Jurassic Park?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like Mr. DNA.
Oh no. Really?
Yeah. So
no.
It's the moment where when the screen goes small and like he's at the
right.
And then all the cameras are shining out for. That's when a theater employee is supposed to stand there and ask the questions to Adam Driver.
Is this theater employee getting paid extra or like getting
it's a very good question. They certainly should be getting double time and a half, I would say.
That's insanity. I had not heard that at all. Okay, I'm going back to watch this on IMAX.
So, but it was not playing anywhere in IMAX, anywhere near where we live.
Near where we are. No.
The wild robot completely hogged all the IMAX screens.
Blew it out of the water. Sorry, guy.
And I could just imagine Francis.
But who's going to act out the questions?
Yeah, it's theater employee. So his original vision for the movie was that there would be some kind of audience interactivity with the movie. And I think that like we would get to basically like send in prompts and then AI changes the movie based on our prompts.
Oh my God. Talk about dystopian futures. Jeez.
Yeah. So, but
it's like a Black Mirror episode.
But in all honesty, like that gimmick has gotten like a few people interested in going out to go see it.
No doubt.
Because it is like the Mr. DNA thing from Jurassic Park.
Well, it's just so stupid though. Like the joke in Jurassic Park was that was lame, and that was in the 90s.
And he's like, "Are you going to be here for every single one of these showings to do this, John? You can't do that."
Oh man, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, anyway.
All right, so okay, so
are we going to go into spoilers at any point here?
Well, first
I don't even know how to talk.
First, let's talk about positives. Do you have any positives?
I
think Aubrey Plaza is having a great time.
She's always amazing, and like I feel like she not to typecast her, but I feel like she's very good at playing that. Just like I'm a crazy bitch and I'm loving it.
Yeah. There's nobody better.
Right? I mean, talk about typecast. It's Shia LaBeouf as well. It's like just be like a bit of an obnoxious twat that like everybody would hate if they met.
Yeah.
It's like I could do that.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I'd say the two of them are the standouts.
Yeah, they were perfectly cast for their roles, I think, as well. Plus, their characters did interesting things that I could understand why they were doing them for the most part, whereas everyone else was just like off quoting, talking like they were in a Greek tragedy and doing weird random stuff.
Yeah, like Jon Voight was
was good.
Well, he was really trying to give it some like sincerity to this.
I thought he was just playing like confused old man.
Confused old cuck.
But like doing it pretty well, I thought.
Oh man, like this movie is pretty fun to dunk on. Like, and
it is a bit, and there was multiple times in the theater where people erupted into laughter
when you weren't supposed to,
and not intentionally. So
there were intentionally funny parts.
Yes,
of this movie.
That's true. That's true.
I'm trying to think of them now, but yeah, they were there.
Yeah, but like majority of it was just like, what? Like, what is happening here? Why did they do that? Oh boy, yeah. Positives. I don't know. Did you think it looked good? I thought it was a very odd aesthetic choice of like this future utopian society.
Well,
that he was trying to build it. I mean, it looked a bit fucking weird. Like, I don't know if I'm into like living in a plant.
I think it looked kind of cheap actually, and I was wondering where that $120 million went.
Exactly. That's like it didn't even look that good.
Honestly feel like there's no way this could possibly cost $120 million. There has to be some kind of embezzlement going on here.
Maybe.
Like something
it's a Dustin Hoffman's pocket.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought that. Even like just the first, like even just like a couple of the opening scenes, I was a bit like, "Ooh, this."
Off to a rough start.
Yeah, without being overly harsh, I was like, "This looks a bit like a student film in places." Like, it didn't look expensive at all.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else we should say before we head to spoilers?
Like, we didn't really talk about Adam Driver, I guess. Like, what do you think of his performance? I mean, he went for it. I'll give him that. He definitely made choices, and
he always goes for it. Adam Driver loves what he does.
Yeah. He's not going to phone it in.
No. Yeah, I thought, he's fun. Like it's difficult material to work with.
What about the lead actress?
I think it's Nathalie Emmanuel.
I feel like I know her from something, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Because I thought she did pretty good. But I'm
trying to think where I know her from.
I'm gonna look it up. Because the whole movie I was like, I know her, but I couldn't figure out what I knew her from.
She's not from Loki, is she?
I thought it was her.
Okay.
But then I was second guessing myself.
Yeah, and like their love story is fine, I guess.
Yeah, but very odd again. And all the stuff with his wife, like it was just like I didn't understand what the hell was going on, if I'm being honest with you.
So maybe as you're looking that up, I can do my P report.
Yeah.
For everybody, every new listener, I do a P report, tell you the best time to go to the bathroom during a movie. This was a long one. Plenty of opportunities to go. Honestly,
yeah, just go whenever you want.
I don't think at any point you could leave and you can come back and you've missed something that would hamper your understanding.
Yeah.
I clocked it at an hour and 4 minutes. Adam Driver is lying on a floor. A fly lands on his hand.
Right.
Good time to go to the bathroom. Was there like an out of focus fly fluttering around the screen along?
I couldn't figure out if that was like intentional.
It's got to be intentional. I don't know.
Or if it was just like you say, there was something in the projector booth just flying around. Yeah, so she was in Game of Thrones. That's what I know her from. She was like,
oh, okay, yeah.
And she was also in a couple of Fast and Furious movies, I guess, some of the later ones.
Yeah, so she was like Daenerys' advisor?
Yeah,
she was? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I recognized her from.
Okay. Yeah, she did a good job. Very sincere performance.
Yeah. Very, yeah. I still, my brain is just a bit like still trying to comprehend what the heck was going on.
All right, well, why don't we get into it a bit in spoilers?
All right, yeah.
For everybody,
explain to me what the hell was going on.
if spoilers bother you, drop off now and then loop back in when you've seen the rest of the movie. Let us know what your favorite movie by a really old person is.
Yes.
And
I'm sure we forgot some.
If it's Megalopolis, let us know.
Yeah. Tell us how wrong we are.
All right. Send us an email at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com. We're on the socials. All right. Spoilers. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we're into spoilers. Oh, we never really finished. I don't think you finished your thought about the people coming out of the movie theater.
Oh, whoops. How do we get off track on that?
I think it was my fault.
That's okay.
I think I derailed it.
So I was quite inspired by
we got into the IMAX conversation.
a group of about 5 or 6 guys huddled around there talking about how the movie was a total disaster, but it completely captivated them. And I feel like that just really embodies the spirit of this podcast, is that it's all about hanging around after a movie, trying to process your thoughts.
It's like, let's just talk about it for half an hour, even though like I really don't know what's going on.
Yeah. No, then I thought that was kind of beautiful. So thank you, Francis, for bringing everybody together.
There you go. Give us something to talk about on the way home here.
All right. So speaking of Francis, who do you think is the Coppola facsimile in this movie? Was it Cicero or was it Caesar?
I honestly was assuming it was like the Jon Voight character.
Oh.
Because like you said, like there's always in these older guys' movies, there's always the older guy who's been in control and he's like trying to pass it down and got a bit of that out of it.
Well, but I see that as the Cicero character who's like against like a new filmmaker of Adam Driver, who's like experimenting with new techniques or whatever. It's like, I don't understand these.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
But then I also thought maybe this is how he saw himself in the 70s, back when he originally started writing this.
Right, he's the Adam Driver character. Who knows?
Well, and the Adam Driver character can pause time and rewind time and stuff.
Yeah, he can edit stuff.
That's a very filmmaker-y thing.
I didn't quite understand that what that was trying to say, or why that choice was made in the narrative. I feel like they introduced that it could do that, and then they never really did anything with it. So kind of like, is it supposed to mean something else?
No, you're completely right. They introduced that, and then you're like, oh, okay. So this he's
like a superhero, I guess.
He's making some comment about the nature of filmmaking. Like, you control the reality, you determine what people see. But then
didn't use it at all.
They don't really use it. His power goes away for a little bit, like in the Spider-Man 2, and then comes back. Comes back from love, just like in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
all pretty quickly. That was like 10 minutes.
Right, and then there's like she could see when time was paused, but nobody else could for some reason. And I don't know. I was a bit like, I feel like it's trying to say something, and I'm just not getting it. But I don't know. It just seemed like
because she's a filmmaker too.
But is she?
I guess
I don't get it. I didn't really understand her motivation either, to be honest with you. It was a bit, I was confused about why anyone was doing anything they were doing.
She was a bit of like a manic pixie dream girl sort of thing.
At the start, and then like they just flipped that character, I guess, to be like his kind of foil for a bit of it, and then they were like, there was back and forth with them, and she was like his muse. And I was like, well, I don't understand what she was trying to do. The whole thing was very odd.
The future is that baby.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
So Coppola made this piece of art. Now, it's up for the next generation to pick it up.
Yeah.
I guess that's what he's saying. And there's also a message in there about, loving humanity.
Right. Yeah, he made that very clear.
And,
at the end.
Doing things to better all of mankind or whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't fucking know. Like,
that's what I mean. He kept throwing stuff up there, and it was like, okay. Like, are you trying to say that we should just love one another, because you've said that very explicitly in some of your title cards, but I don't know if I'm really getting that from the movie I've just sat through.
Yeah. So like, okay, so Cicero's main thing is like, yeah, we have so many problems here and now. We got to focus on making people's lives better.
Right.
And then Caesar's like, well, what about art? What about a hope for the future? I'm like, okay, that's how I understand the movie.
Right.
Like, is there anything I'm missing here?
I don't think so.
And then movie ends on the note of like, yeah, man, what if the future could be great?
Yeah, what if utopias are achievable?
Yeah, okay.
I guess. And then just kill all the other people that we don't like? I guess.
So that's what I don't understand about on January 6th, when all those people started storming the Capitol.
Yeah.
Why didn't someone make a passionate speech about nothing?
Yeah,
that inspired everybody.
Yeah, and he could have climbed on like that big bean they have in Chicago. It's basically what he was doing. Just like, look how we could all live on.
The big bean. Okay,
we could all live on like cool, weird shape, like weird 3D generated shapes.
Yeah, well, and speaking of Jurassic Park, like basically in that scene, he's like, yeah, now Jurassic Park is open. I built it. You can go inside.
Look how cool it looks.
You don't have to ride anymore, everybody.
I think that was one of the things I found like weird, was like the utopia that he was building with his special material. It looked really boring and shit.
Yeah, you get bored after a day.
It's like it looked like there was nothing going on. It looked like you were living in some kind of trippy garden that was just neon lights and no sharp edges anywhere, and also no guardrails and anything, and like weird floating like ball cars that you float around in.
He just built like walkways like they have at the airport, except they were just like shimmering gold. It's like, this is some kind of magic.
Like, check out this what we've got now. Travelators that go barely faster than you can walk. Like, isn't that cool?
I think it was slower than you can walk.
It definitely was. Now you're taking it.
And like right at the end, you see someone traveling in a bubble. I'm like, you should have led with that.
Right? That's what I mean. It's like, can you explain to me what this is? Because now you're saying there's like bubble cars that can literally fly, and I don't understand how that's possible.
And I don't know how it's going to house all those people. It did not look like it's built for scale.
Well, they were all living in like leaf houses, right? And they said when they moved into one, they were like, "Oh, it can grow if you need it to be bigger." It's like, well, what if you can grow into your neighbor's leaf house? Like, how's that going to work?
Yeah, it's like, you could.
Where's the zonage here, man?
That's a very good question.
Like, it wasn't very big. It was like 2 city blocks or something at the end. Like, we could all live here now. It's great.
And thank goodness that Soviet satellite fell down and hit a bunch of.
I'd forgotten all about that, to be honest with you.
Well, they were teeing that up for a long time, right? And I guess the point of the plot was then it destroyed a lot of stuff so that he could build more.
Chekhov's satellite just kept showing it every 20 minutes. Like, remember, there's a satellite. Don't forget, there's a satellite.
They really just like skipped over a bunch of that.
And then it's like, and then it's fallen to ground and stuff blew up. It's like, but why? But why was that necessary for the story? It didn't change anything, and it didn't make any sense.
The whole setup from the early part of the movie was that he and Cicero were going to be fighting over what gets to be built in this area. Right, and then that whole thing is just dropped. And then Cicero's just like, I don't want him to date my daughter because I don't like him.
Basically. And even like him getting shot. I felt like it was just like, it would be cool if we do like him getting shot and then like his face gets reconstructed by this stuff. That'd be cool. And it's like, I mean, I guess.
It was cool for one scene.
We can put it in one scene and then immediately just like move on and just have it not be an issue anymore.
He was just totally fine.
I think it's just so that they can wrap him in bandages so he can go roo, 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 and just like do a weird scene where he's like a crazy old man.
And then Aubrey Plaza got his accounts frozen and had no consequence whatsoever. They just got it frozen. Right
I guess so. I mean, it's like I felt like that whole Aubrey Plaza thing, trying to take over and do that and do stuff with Shia LaBeouf. That seemed like it was an entirely different movie that just got shoehorned into the third act, and it was like, hey, this is happening now, and then it was like, and then now it's not happening anymore. We'll just get back to the story.
I guess going back to the Jan 6 stuff, like it's like, the people who are pretending to be populists are actually the people who own the banks. Like, I guess, nice subtle point you got there for Francis.
I felt like also we saw like what was the TV show? Wow, what with Brian Cox and
Succession.
It felt a bit like it's a Succession a bit at the end there.
I guess.
like his son's gonna do a hostile takeover of his company.
Yeah. So we should talk about the scene of the movie, which is Jon Voight saying, "Hey, look, do you like my boner?" Here.
Oh man, that's what I mean.
then-
That was like an entirely different movie, and then like he pulls it back, and it's a fucking not even a crossbow.
It's like
a
the teeniest little bow and arrow.
Literal bow and arrow. It looked like he got it from the dollar store.
It looks like Cupid's bow and arrow.
When he shoots her right in the chest, and it was like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Like none of it makes any sense. Why a bow and arrow? Is there some?
So and
I guess because he's supposed to be Robin Hood, right? At that point, I think that's what, because he kept saying he wanted to dress as Robin Hood, and then he was dressed as Robin Hood at the end.
Yes,
there.
but he
then he pulls out a bow and arrow.
The bank. So does make any. So I think in that scene they were wanting it to be like funny, as he said boner, but then scary. Oh, he's actually got a bow and arrow, and he shot her in cold blood. But like the audience was just.
But it was even funnier when he pulled out the bow and arrow, because it looked like a little kid with a toy, but it was like ancient Jon Voight.
The entire audience was just like cackling with laughter.
That whole scene was just insane.
And her plan made no sense whatsoever.
I didn't even. I couldn't tell you what it was right now. What her plan was.
So
get him to make Shia LaBeouf the acting CEO.
It's like here,
and then just replace.
Take this memo that says you want to be interim CEO.
Yeah,
and he'll still be permanent CEO. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right, and then like he tried to get him to sign it, and he was like, "I'm not signing that.
This is quite hostile." And then he has a stroke.
Like, I don't.
Was the stroke part of her plan?
Right, and how did that help the plan? I just don't get it. I'm so confused. Oh man, yeah, it was a
good times.
It was a good plan. Nice plan.
Good plan. Hey, so in the couple minutes we have left, did you want to pull up the last title card so you could read that off again?
Sure, let me see if I can find it. Because it was basically the Pledge of Allegiance, right?
I think so.
It was the Pledge of Allegiance, but with like, instead of it saying America, it was like humanity. And it was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Forgive us if it's not the Pledge of Allegiance. We're two Canadians here.
I'm pretty sure it is, though. It's like, I pledge allegiance, because it was like, I pledge allegiance to humanity. It's like, really? I feel like, how am I going to find that?
It's like last title card in Megalopolis.
Because when I saw it, I was like, oh, he's just like, he's taken the Pledge of Allegiance and said, like, this is wrong. We shouldn't be pledging allegiance to the flag or God. We should be pledging allegiance to humanity and being good to each other. I was like, oh, that's what we're saying is the point? Okay.
What was the stuff with...
Yeah, I can't find it.
What was the stuff with the wife?
Yeah, I don't know what any of that was about. Like, what was the big revelation that Giancarlo Esposito was like, I've confessed here?
So I've confessed to you that, like...
What was he confessing to?
That he knew that he didn't kill his wife, but he tried to prosecute him for her death anyways? That was the revelation.
I thought it was that, because they said the body disappeared, right? So I figured that he made it a Jane Doe and just like stashed it away.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right.
But I don't know why that means anything, though. Like, what was that supposed to mean?
Didn't mean, like, he didn't even take him up on the offer that he made.
Yeah, it was just like, let's have a scene where this happens and then just have it bear no account on anything. Because they kept saying that, like, he kept saying that because she died, that's how he invented the thing, right?
It's like, I saw her dying, and that's when I invented the flux capacitor.
Yeah, it's like,
when I hit my head on the toilet seat.
That's basically what it was, right? But like, what was this? I really felt like he struggled to convey what he was trying to say through all these different things, and I'm sure he had a point. I'm sure the thing with the wife, he had in his mind, it was very clear what that represented and how it affected stuff. But to me, it was just like, I don't know. His wife died, and they arrested him for it. But like, it didn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. maybe I'm tired and I'm just too stupid, but I just feel like
No, I think everyone's gonna feel stupid after watching that.
it's like I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Can I ask you, so early in the movie, is he supposed to be a villain?
It seemed like it. You see,
And then
they were
he's like
making him out.
tearing people's houses down and stuff.
Yeah, and like,
And then
a bit of a prick. Like,
he gets the megalodon or whatever into his head. Is he supposed to be a good guy after that?
oh, interesting. I don't know because he didn't seem to be changed that much.
I don't think he changed at all. I don't think he was portrayed all that bad in the beginning, and then I don't think he was all that good at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think I almost feel like they were trying to make him more of an enigma because he was like, oh, is he a oh, he's drinking and doing all this, and but he's like, oh no, I'm just pretending to do that because that's the only way people will listen to me, like so deep. I'm like, what? I'm so confused.
Uh,
Oh, yeah,
so what are you gonna rate this bad boy at a 6.5?
pretty low.
Like
Say.
maybe like a 1.5 or
Yeah,
something.
like a two of you being super generous.
Yeah,
You can't. I can't with any good conscience recommend you watch it. I mean, unless you like into that stuff.
I'm very interested in looking up like positive 5-star reviews.
Yeah,
Of this movie, because
I
I've seen
like
some of these out
I
there.
had a quick look at it, and it was like someone gave it. I mean, an IMDb is not a good margin, but
I saw
like
Letterbox, like there's like a lot of
like 4s, 5s.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think honestly, it's one of those pretentiously, like wanky, like oh, it's brilliant. You guys, you just don't understand the points is making here with this scene. I'm like, is it though, or are you just pretending?
I'm sure it is trying to make like these lofty points that people are pointing out, but I don't know how anyone can argue it's doing it in a good way.
Yeah, however way you swing it, it's not an enjoyable time.
And it's boring. Like I gotta say, like
It's so
it's
boring.
boring movie is probably the worst thing I could say about
Like,
it.
no, I don't mean to out you, but I think you fell asleep at one point, right? And there was a point where I was like, I'm pretty tired. I think I'm just gonna rest my eyes. And I closed my eyes and I was listening to the movie and I was like, I could definitely just go to sleep right now.
I think I fell asleep for about 2 minutes and I woke up right in the middle of the Virgin auction.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that. Oh my word, it was so odd. Because like they went from being like a coliseum, they were in the Coliseum and it was literally just like ancient Rome, but then they were like in what seemed like a freaking circus tent. I had no doing trapeze. I'm like, what is happening? I just did not understand what was going on.
No net.
No,
Yeah, so yeah, we watched The Shrouds last episode.
yeah,
I feel like that was much more interesting than this one. This one, at least, like the filmmaking was better. It
yeah.
obviously had a
I
higher
guess,
budget,
yeah, very true.
but this is just a boring movie.
It was, and just confusing, boring, confusing movie. Really, at the end of the day, sadly. When are we going to get to see a good movie, Trevor? What's next?
I think Joker's next
Joker
week.
2.
So
I'm not super excited about that one either.
well, I'm going in with my hopes high.
Yeah.
Phillips is a good filmmaker for
I
all of his
I did enjoy
faults.
the first one. I quite liked it.
So
Finding it odd though that they're really playing down because when they announced the second one, they're like it's a musical, and then they were like, "Oh, it's not. Don't say that. It's not a musical."
I think
Because like some musicals came out that didn't do very well, so now you can't advertise movies as musicals. Like they're even trying. The trailer for Wicked even makes it look like it's not a musical.
That's very true.
It's
Yeah,
like Wicked is definitely a musical, right? You cast people who are like from the stage. Like we know there's a musical and there's going to be songs in
Yeah,
it. Why are you pretending it's not? Because they don't make money apparently.
well, I think some people just don't like the idea of musicals.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some people will flat out just say, "I'm not going to see Joker 2 if they're singing it."
I was totally uninterested in the idea of a Joker 2 until I heard that it was going to be a musical. Then
Right.
I'm like, well, okay, that's an interesting idea.
Well, didn't he say it's not a musical? There's just they use music to convey dialogue in scenes.
Yeah.
It's like okay, how is that any different?
But just like this one, even if it's not a good movie, I think it's going to be interesting to talk about.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be unique, I would imagine.
And that's what we're all about here.
Right, we're going to bring you the hard news. Okay.
All right, well, let's bring it home.
We should have gone to see the robot movie.
Yeah, we should have seen the robot movie. Well, but you know what?
Robots are wild.
I have no regrets.
No, neither. I'm glad I saw it.
All right, I think we're winding down here, everybody.
Yeah, I need to go to bed. It's 1 a.m.
Let us know what you think of Megalopolis, and why we're wrong and why it's brilliant.
What was the deal with his wife? You let us know. Maybe I'll just spend the night just like reading letterboxd reviews and being like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now. I'll message you in the morning, be like, Trevor, it all makes perfect sense. The 5 stars, 6.5 out of 10. Maybe.
All right, then we'll record something in the morning.
We'll just tear it down and be like, we got to re-record this.
Yeah,
we totally missed the whole point.
All right, well, let us know at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com. Love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, give us a review. Tell your friends about us. We'd love to spread the word. Appreciate you guys. But until then, until the next episode, that's the final word.